Greetings all. We are doing the full moon partial lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces reading that is going to occur on August the 28th, 2026. So during this time, there's going to be a lot of high level emotions because the energy is in Pisces. It's a full moon time. Full moon energy is about release and letting go in multiple ways. So we are definitely going to go ahead and get started here and looking at what we can expect during this time. I am Dr. Asani, and I help generational healers or chosen ones navigate their journey. So let's go ahead and see what's going on during this time. So there's definitely going to be a release of emotional energy during this time for many people, and it's abrupt, like I said before, because this is full moon energy. So it's not going to be something that you can easily control at this particular level. It is a partial eclipse, so herein these dynamics are about releasing certain things so that you can get to the next level of your journey, so you can fully let go later on. But the fullness of this release energy is not going to happen for many people during this particular time frame. Instead, there may be, some blow-ups that are going to help us to get to a space of full-blown rebirth in various areas of our lives. So I know that this looks a little bit scary here, but it isn't. This is about, people who have held on to rather so much energy, kept on to pent up energy, especially when it comes to things like people crossing your boundaries, or even so situations where you deal with escapism because it's hard for you to deal with your day-to-day life. Many of these things are going to surface at this time in order to be dealt with. And because many people haven't dealt with them in a rightful way, in a more productive way in the past, the cosmos is just going to force this energy out. It's going to cause a partial purge here that forces you to have those hard conversations in many instances, especially when it comes to things like your boundaries, where people have kept pushing through your boundaries and you've allowed it, right? Because you hold partial responsibility in that area as well, because you allow these dynamics to occur, and so you just let it build up, and it might just come out depending on if this energy is aspected towards you, or it might be somebody in your environment who ends up having this type of explosion. Just depends on your natal chart position. So definitely check out the energies that are in Pisces in your natal chart to determine how this energy, or if this energy, may have a large impact on you. This is also going to be about releasing expectations as well. So your own personal expectations about how things are supposed to go, right? Especially in the dynamics here when it comes to like creative projects or even career-oriented endeavors, more so career-oriented endeavors when it comes to creativity, right? Because we're in Pisces. So Pisces, it does explore our imagination, our illusions and our delusions and things of that nature, but it is strongly tied to creative endeavors. So if you're in a creative industry, which is oftentimes impacted by this type of energy of delusions about how things are supposed to be, right? So, we have a lot of people in the fields of art and music and things like that, and they typically want to operate in that dynamic and just live there and not do a whole lot on the business side sometimes, depending on, how their aspect and how, what is going on with Pisces in their chart. A lot of times they just want to focus on their creative output and not really truly focus on the business side of it, how they're going to make money or things like that. Or they have certain ideals about how the money is supposed to come through, right? So they just maybe imagine just things just flowing to them, money just flowing, people just seeing their artwork on the corner, for instance, or just, hearing their songs randomly online, and they just develop a fan base through that dynamic. Or, somebody again just randomly find their artwork and they just blow up, and they don't have to do much beyond that. Instead, this energy is going to come and bring you back into reality and say, yes, you can walk in this energy as your purpose, but you also have to employ other strategies in order to make it work, to get people to understand what these dynamics are about. And it can absolutely impact anybody in any career field, especially if you have like delusions surrounding that aspect of your life. It can also impact relationships here, though that is not a huge emphasis in this particular energy, but it can impact relationships if you are in a space of delusion, and especially if those relationships are connected to your creative endeavors or boundaries, like I said earlier. Now that can have a huge play on the dynamics, escapism dynamics, right? So if you want to drown your pain, drown your trauma, or what have you, in some type of substance. It could be definitely drugs and alcohol, but even so, shopping or sex, or so many other dynamics that most people don't think about. I always like to give a spill on the whole gamut, because most people just only focus on the drugs and alcohol, but people drown in so many things, that people don't even think about, right? Even so, work, that's a huge one that many people don't really focus on as well. They overdo it in work, trying to not face or focus on what they need to do, but that one is considered benign because they're actually usually considered a productive worker or something like that, which they probably are. They usually are, because they give so much of their energy into that because there's something that they feel like they can control, versus dealing with their real life problems head on. Gambling, so many examples here, guys. I know you guys get the point. So, if that's you, if you've been in that energy, expect some changes, expect some shifts to come forth. All right. But one of the things that I absolutely do like about this energy is that it is going to come with a level of balance and stability at play. So even though there are going to be abrupt changes that will likely lead to closures or endings in certain regards, right? Not full on. It still will be some balance there. This is not just chaotic energy where, everybody's just going off, everybody's just fighting and talking over each other, and, relationships just crash and burn all of a sudden type of dynamic. Instead, this type of energy is going to hold the fort for some genuine, really deep, hard conversations in many instances, for sure. But and even so, it's not even always just conversations with other people. It could be internal conversations that you have with yourself, with your Ori, conversations that you have with God, the ancestors, or whoever you are oriented towards within this dynamic. You will likely have some deeper level conversations where you start to dig up the roots of some things, because this energy is going to force us to release some emotions and some certain things that we need in order to change who we are. Again, like just, deep level balance, an opportunity to really sit with the energy and understanding on a deeper level. It's a great time, guys, to spend some time in quiet solitude. Piscean energy is about that level of retreat or what have you, that can be so greatly beneficial to us in many different ways along our journey. And so it will give you an opportunity to really sit and meditate on some things and think about the way forward. The energy is quieter, it's smoother, even though it can come in and change the dynamics, and conversations might just spill out without you even realizing it, or you might just have a change of thought or a change of strategy without you even thinking about those dynamics. Like if you were dead set on something happening one way in your life, and then all of a sudden your whole mindset may just be reworked to where, it doesn't have to show up like this, right? But during this energy, it probably won't just come to a dead halt close. It's more so here about, mental changes, mindset changes. So that way, once we get past, the energy, we get our mindset in the right place, then we can start strategizing and planning out the way forward after that dynamic. All right. And so it is so very important for you to really focus and pay attention here during this time. It's going to be about us like really being able to connect with those deep level of emotions so that we can get to the deeper layers of ourselves and of our journey, our divine mission, our purpose, what we came here to do, right? This is what all cosmic energy is about, but it is going to be deeply emphasized during this time because we are in Pisces, and Pisces is, that top layer. That's that space where we come to like, okay, the height, the crown chakra, if you will, to get to that level of mastery, all right, especially spiritual mastery. And herein, that is what the energy is calling us to do, is to really figure out how can we get to this next stage in our journey so that we can master that aspect of ourselves. So, especially people dealing with issues with boundary setting and boundary maintenance, right? The cosmos is going to call that into play for you during this time. Upheavals, it doesn't surprise me that this upheavals energy came out because it is going to be disrupted. There's going to be some things that disrupt you, that force you to really and truly get to those dynamics. And, now we're going to take a look at the specific areas of our work as generational healers, our health and well-being, what we need to focus on during this time. The relationship sector, I already talked a little bit about that dynamic, and then our finances, especially from a space of being financially independent and getting into a space as a generational healer or a chosen one, where you can really take care of yourself and help your family to overcome, because it's all about that healing energy, facilitating the next steps forward here. Guys, definitely, if you want a deeper level reading, check this out. On a Sunny 44, we offer ancestral readings along with many other types of readings where you can get deeper level insight about what your ancestors have to say about your particular situation, if you're interested in those dynamics. So, not surprising here, balance is coming out. I said that before, how definitively important it is for us to be balanced during this time. So your work as a generational healer is to try to figure out ways that you can align yourself so that your bloodline can likewise be aligned. Because remember, you're reaching back in the past and also forward in the future as a generational healer to reconcile what was done in the past so that it doesn't repeat in future generations. And future generations can live out a whole lot better in their lives. So herein, it's also about us getting organized, getting our things together so that we can live a better life, a more meaningful life. So, going back to the dynamics that I talked about before, if this does hit you in the area of boundaries, then you're going to have to learn how to reconcile those things so that you can live in more abundance. Because a lot of times people who allow people to cross their boundaries, they do not live in holistic abundance. Prosperity came up here before, right, guys? They don't live in holistic abundance as they should. Even though they are oftentimes very blessed, their blessings tend to leak out because they don't know how to manage that aspect of them. They don't know how to stand up for themselves to keep people from taking advantage of them. So anytime they get something, they want to help and heal the world. And so they oftentimes will give more of themselves than they even have to give. And herein, the ancestors are calling us to say, we got to learn the dynamics of when to give and when not to give, and also when to take, right? Not in a negative sense, but when to, allow ourselves to receive from other people. It's also calling for balance in our mindset, that we understand both how to live in the physical realm as humans and operate within our bodies, but also remain connected to spirit, right? Because oftentimes there's a huge imbalance for individuals who are closely connected to Piscean energy, where they love to focus on the spiritual aspects. They tend to stay in their head a lot, whereas they don't want to, come down and live in their body. And so sometimes they can have these grandiose ideals that are just not grounded in reality and practicality. Herein, I'm not saying to, dismiss your ability to see things, to visualize things, and to go after what you want. But the practical end of that, which Piscean energy oftentimes misses, is the doing part. They can visualize, they can enjoy, all of these grandiose ideals, but they also have to come down into the earth to make those visions come to fruition. It's not just about, doing endless vision boards and, meditations and affirmations or what have you. You also got to put in the work with those dynamics. And that is one area of balance that you really are going to have to work on during this time, is figuring out, well, what do I actually need to do, and where am I in a space, where am I being a visionary, and where am I being delusional? All right, where, I'm expecting something that's not aligned with my own path. Okay, because that's important as well. A lot of times people are looking at other people's journey, or just sometimes it's just what you imagine or what you want to happen, and it's not truly part of your path for it to manifest in a certain way, right? You may just think, hey, everything is just supposed to come to me and land in my lap, and I don't have to do the extra work. Or you saw somebody else, have what you thought was that experience, because a lot of times it's not even what we think. We are looking on other people's lives. We assume things, but you think that something is going on in somebody else's life. And so you choose during that particular time to say, well, it's supposed to happen for me like this as well, when it may not be. So the ancestors are calling us into this time to really get back into a space of balance, to really and truly get ourselves, positioned to be able to receive the fullness of our blessings, so that we have the right mindset and we also have the right emotional connections that we need to have. Wow, so we got some energy here of movement when it comes to the health and well-being sector. At this time, it's going to be very, very important, guys, for you to move around physically. And I just talked about how it's important to be grounded, in the physical realm, and physical activity, movement, walking, aerobics exercises, things like that. Even so, things like yoga and stretching will be beneficial, but herein, you want to engage a more robust movement during this time, right? So that you can connect better with your body, because your emotions are going to probably be all over the place depending on your orientation to the energy. And so robust movement can help you out a great deal to help you to really deal with those emotional states that you'll be in, because some people may be a little bit teary-eyed during this time. You might find yourself, crying a lot and just feeling very, very vulnerable, whereas that physical activity can give you something to help you to move those emotions through your body more effectively. Okay. Solar calm. So in the relationship sector, the energy is going to be more grounded and calm naturally. But if you tend to have issues in this area, then you definitely want to focus on being calm, being at peace with yourself and within your environment. But the good news is that energy will be available to all of us to avail during this particular cycle. So you will actually have some calmness there to help you to deal with the energy. It's full moon, it's a partial eclipse, but we also have some very grounded surrounding energies during this cycle that are going to help us out rather a great deal. So finances, this is interesting. So in the financial sector, and when it comes to being financially independent, this is telling us that we need to learn how to connect with others and also connect with opportunities in order for us to advance financially during this particular phase. That's going to be holistically important, which makes sense because herein we are dealing with Piscean energy, which can have that escapism component, that isolation component, right? Pisces naturally likes to retreat and go within, which is great at the right time. But the ancestors are saying during this phase, you also want to connect with the right people along your journey. Get your relationship dynamics on track, okay? Because, herein, like we talked about before, there's going to be an emotional release. And so that is going to holistically impact you in many areas of your life. So if you are dealing with a scenario where, you really you have to get your emotions out, especially when it comes to work related dynamics, but it can also be in your home with romantic relationships, because that impacts us in more ways than we know. It definitely can impact our mood when we are trying to work and do things to bring in finances. But it can also impact us on a spiritual level, especially if we're dealing with things that are taboo for us within our relationship dynamics, right? Some people actually have taboos that are related to them not allowing people to take advantage of them, right? And if they do that, then they suffer a great deal in life. And then some people have taboos related to them not arguing with their mate too much, because that can cause them major issues in life as well. And so when they violate these taboos, it can spill over into finances. And herein, the ancestors are absolutely saying that we need to watch our relational dynamics, right? Especially the emotional part. If you're working, if you're in a career field, and you have that outpouring of emotion because you feel like maybe you've been taken advantage of on the job, you're not getting what you deserve and you desire, and you've been sitting in that energy for a long time, and it just comes out because herein, the ancestors are saying something needs to change. You don't need to be in this energy because it is hindering you from truly fulfilling your purpose, because you are staying in stagnant emotions, emotions that keep you upset, emotions that keep you from giving your best in your fullness because you feel like you've been slighted somehow or some way. And so, the cosmos is going to come and say, here you go. It's time for us to deal with this. But herein, you still have to watch how you deal with it. It's not just about coming out and just being rude and disrespectful, but to have an honest conversation with your superior, whoever that may be, so that you guys can work through it and still have a stable connection going forward, a productive connection going forward. So definitely it is very important for you guys to keep these particular dynamics in mind as you move forward. Now I'm going to get to some medicine here. And, as anything that we've discussed, I'm going to try to put together a list for you guys where you can go and check out a few things that may be helpful for you as you navigate this specific energy moving forward. So definitely check out the description. I'll try to remember to put it in the pinned comment section as well as we move through this very dynamic, beautiful energy. We're going to look at what medicinal impacts can we deal with during this particular time. Okay. Let's see. They're saying, don't forget to ask for help. When you need help, even with your emotions, overcoming certain emotions, when you need help, from a psychological perspective, because some of you might actually need to go and engage in coaching or therapy or something like that to help you even so continuously work through your emotions, because this is just the beginning of the release phase. As I said before, this is to bring up those emotions so that you know that you're dealing with them, and then as you work through this energy, you may end up being shown that you really need to go and sit with someone and have that counseling session or deal with some type of mentorship or coaching or whatever works out for you in these particular dynamics. So they're saying, part of the medicine is here not being afraid or apprehensive about asking for the help that you need. Okay. They want you to be present. This is so ironic, right? Because we're talking about Piscean energy, escapism energies. Part of your medicine is being present in the moment, right? Not allowing yourself to drift off into wonderland. All right. And there's many ways that you can solve this. There are definitely natural remedies, and I'll try to link some, as I said before, to the list that I'm going to provide for you guys when it comes to dealing with this energy. You want to definitely try your best to not drift off and, just stay present, stay in the moment and deal with the emotions that are going on during this time. The exercise that I talked about before, that's going to help ground you as well. Exercise is great for helping you to stay present in the moment, not allowing your mind to just wander all over the place. Okay, guys. Another aspect of the medicine moving forward, they want you to engage in self-acceptance, because Piscean energy can be very, very critical, right, of itself, especially when it comes to, dynamics of them, because in many instances they realize that they actually allow these dynamics to take place. So in which case they get into a space where they can become self-loathing. So herein, the ancestors are saying, moving forward, you got to learn better ways to nurture your own self and to love yourself in every aspect of yourself, right? Flaws and all, whatever is going on, you need to be able to love yourself. And herein, I will again find some great tools for you guys to work with if you are struggling in any of these particular areas. So now I want to finish off with the words of wisdom, guys. The words of wisdom. Closing up the message so that we have a well-rounded understanding of the energy and we can walk forward in wisdom in our journey. Okay, guys? So let's see what the words of wisdom are. So it says, practice helps me attain greatness. All right. So they're saying keep going at it, keep practicing. If you're struggling in any of these areas that we talked about, if you're dealing with any of these things connected to the Piscean energy in this lunar eclipse, because as I said before, it is partial. So herein, this is the, release point where we know, okay, this is what's going on, but it's going to take time. So here you need to put in a strategy. You need to put in the work to keep going in order to reconcile whatever issues that may come up inside of you or with you or in your life during this particular phase. With that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close up here. Ashe. Please have a very blessed and beautiful day and beyond.